Let's talk a little bit about the deck of many dungeons. This is what we are going to see today. Let's wait a little bit for people to come in. Okay, well, we have here today the deck of many dungeons, and this is one of the tools that I use for playing D&D, specifically playing solo D&D. There are a lot of tools that I use. This is one of them, and it's one of my favorites. It's one that I showed here in TikTok, and people went crazy over it. It's one of my most watched videos, and I brought the deck today to show with more detail how it works, how you can use it, what you can do to adapt everything on the deck for your games, and how to use it even if you don't play D&D. If you want to play another system, you can also use this particular deck in here. Okay, so it's the equivalent of a regular deck of cards, and you can see it because every card has the symbol of the card and the number, like the aces, we have the kings, and then we have all the other numbers. Okay, and I'm going to explain how each one of these cards work in here. So let's go. This deck, it's by Exabane's Games. Okay, this is the creator's name, and I got it from Drive-Thru RPG. There's like branches of Drive-Thru RPG, like DM's Guide, the Drive-Thru cards, and all of those places you can get these cards from. On these websites, they sell the PDF. That's what I got. I got the PDF, and then I printed the cards at home because I have a pretty good printer. I got some reasonable quality paper. They are not paper specifically for cards, but they work wonderfully, so that's what I did. And there is also the option of going into the GameCrafter.com website, and they sell the physical copy of the deck by demand. So when you click there to buy it, they produce the cards and they send it to you. For me, since I live in Brazil, it's not really viable to get things. Just a minute, I'm getting a notification from TikTok. Just one moment. Okay, I think it's solved. Okay, so let's continue. And since I live in Brazil, getting it from the GameCrafter website was not viable because I have to pay a lot in shipping, and then I have to pay taxes for importing the product, and it becomes like a lot more expensive than it should be. So I decided to get the PDF and print it in my own house. So there are 52 cards here, plus these 2 Joker cards. We are going to get to them soon. And the cards are divided in 3 groups. Besides this one here, we have the aces. They are one group in itself, so 4 cards for the aces. We have 4 cards for the kings, and then we have every other card in the deck. Okay, so these are the 3 groups that we have for this deck. The aces work like the entrance for the dungeon. So when we start the dungeon, we start by using one of the aces. The kings, they are the end of a dungeon or the end of one floor in the dungeon. And we are going to see some examples so you're going to understand better. So they are the very end of something. It may be one of the floors of the dungeon, maybe the whole dungeon. They are the ending. And the other cards are everything in between, like different rooms, halls, everything that you have inside the dungeon. Now, how would we play this? Let's go to this first Joker card, which is exactly the instructions of the game. First thing it says is remove the aces and the kings and the jokers. The jokers because they are just tables and the instructions. So we remove those. We remove the aces because they are the entrance, and once we get one entrance for the dungeon, we don't need another one, so they can go out. And the same thing for the kings. They are the end of the dungeon, so once we have the end defined, we can remove the others and they are not like as important anymore. So we remove those 3 types of cards. And it also says that if you want a smaller dungeon, you can remove the jacks and the queens, and everything's going to work the same. I always leave them and let like the pool of cards decide if the dungeon is going to be long or short. But you can remove them, and there's a guarantee that the dungeon is going to be a little bit shorter than it would be if you had the jack and the queens there. Second thing you have to do is select an ace card to start the layout. So we know we have 4 aces here. You can just turn them face down, mix up a little bit, and then choose one. Or you can do as I do. Let me get here my d4, and I usually roll a d4 to get one of the cards here. So they are in no particular order. So I roll and I got the number 4 here. So I would go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I get the 4th one to use as my entrance, which is this one. Okay, so that's the second step. Third step is you start drawing cards from the main pile of cards, which is this big one with all the other cards. And you start placing them in the correct position on the ace, around the ace. If it's not possible, you can place this card back in the deck, mix like put in the middle or something, and pull the next one until you find one that is possible to put in the layout that you have going on. And the last instruction is that once the layout is complete, it means that you don't have any more hallways or any more open-ended on your layout, on your dungeon layout. You can then choose one of the kings to place in one of the endings so that you close your dungeon or that floor of the dungeon and you can start playing. So let's work with this to make one dungeon and see how things work, okay? And the other joker is just a table for NPC names. You can also use this for character names, and one for items that you might find inside the dungeon. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to set this deck aside because I have another one here that is smaller, and it's going to be better to lay out a lot of cards in here with this small one. I just printed it in like half the size. If I put it here, it's a little bit more than the half, a little bit bigger than the half, but it's smaller enough to fit better in here in the screen, but not too small that it's uncomfortable to hold and mix. So let's separate the cards. So instruction number 1 is remove the ace, the kings, and the jokers. So I have here my 2 jokers. I'm going to put them aside. And now let's find the aces and the kings. So I have 1 king here, 1 ace, another king, another ace. Another one. I have another one. Okay, we have 4 kings, and now we have 4 aces, and all the other cards are here. Okay, so I can give it a little bit of a shuffle to guarantee everything is mixed. It was already pretty mixed because I play with this one a lot, but let's just make sure. Okay, so I have all my cards in here. I have my jokers in here. I'm going to put the tables on front because if we need to use them, we can do it. Okay, so I have aces and I have the kings. As I said, you can just turn it, mix it a little bit, and then choose one. What I like to do is assign a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I roll my d4. So I got a 4, so it's this one. Basically the same one we chose before, another one. Okay, so this is the start of my dungeon. So I'm going to leave it positioned here. And the kings are just for the end, so I'm going to leave them here on the sides. Now, what do? We are going to start pulling cards from this pile. So I'm going to put the first one, and I have one opening here and one opening here. I can either put it here, see how it fits, or I can put it here. So I have a choice here. I can roll for it. I love using dice, so I'm always going to roll to decide what I'm going to do everywhere I need to. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3 is here, 4, 5, 6 is this one. Okay, 3, so I'm going to connect this part here. Let me put these cards to the sides. Okay, so I have one connection already. Let's go to the next one. And if you think you want to mix it a little bit more, you can every time give it a little bit of a shuffle before you pull the next cards. That's also fun to do. So I'm going to get the next one. And I got this one. So yes, I do only have one opening here, and it fits perfectly here. And it already closes this area here, so I don't have any more connections to do to making here. I do have 2 other ones in here. So let's shuffle a little bit more. You don't need to shuffle every time. I like to shuffle every time, but you don't have to. Okay, next card is this one. Okay, so I have 2 possibilities. I can again roll for it. I can just choose, you know, but I like rolling dice. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so it's here on this one. Let me put it a little bit to the sides, because I know I don't have anything more going on in these sides, so I can have space here. And next cards. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Okay, I have this one. see, now it happened. I don't have a connection that I can use perfectly with this one. And let me explain some things here now. You can totally do this, turn the card around and put it here or here. It's your choice if you want to do that. What I like to do is just keep the same orientation of the card. I don't like changing, like turning it around. That's just one restriction I put on myself. You don't have to follow it. You can just turn it and position this like here. I don't like doing that. I like keeping the orientation of the card. And if I see that my card on the orientation it came in doesn't fit in any of my openings, I have one here and one here, so it doesn't fit, I just put it back in the middle and I pick the other one. Okay, so again, you can turn the card around to put whatever you want. I like going for the next cards instead of turning it around because I like to keep the same orientation on all cards. So let's get the next one. Again, I don't have a place that fits this orientation. I'm just going to keep going. And sometimes that happens. Okay, now I have one. I can put it here like this, or I can put it here like this. To choose, I'm going to the dice again. You can just choose. I like to roll dice, so I'm going to roll for it. So I'm going to say this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so now I'm going to put here. So I'm already going to position it. And again, I closed now this area. I don't have any more connections coming from here. I only have this one. Let's see if I can get one last card or if I'm going to keep going. Okay, this one. Oh, okay, nice. We have a hole here. So the only position I have is this one. I can just position there. And now I have two openings, one on the top and one on the bottom. So again, picking more cards. Let's do this one. Okay, I have one on the bottom here. Got it. Now I have only one opening on the top. I'm going to just shuffle it a bit more. And oh, see? Now I closed every possible opening I had in my dungeon. So I don't have anything else that I can do. If I pull more cards, I don't have any more places to put them. So I'm going to set my deck here aside. And now that the dungeon is closed, we can put the king. Remember, the king is the ending. It has like these interrogation marks, question marks, because it's like where you're supposed to complete your quest on that dungeon. So what it says about these kings is that you have to choose one of the endings. So I have here 1, 2, 3, 4 possible endings. It can be like this one, this one, this one, and this one. I have all the possibilities, like right, left, top, and bottom. So I have to choose one of them to be the end of the dungeon. You can just pick one and swap for one of the kings, and you can choose the appropriate one. You have one connecting down, one connecting up, one connecting to the left, and one connecting to the right. So you can choose either one to put in here. You can roll for it. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I can roll like a d4, for example, to choose which position I'm going to change. In this case here, I usually think of a dungeon like the goal is in the end of the dungeon. When I build a dungeon, I want to go through everything, all the rooms, all the halls, everything. And if I put like my go card, my king card here or here, it's basically going to be in the beginning of the dungeon. It's right by the entrance. I think that's a little bit anticlimactic. That's just my opinion. So I usually put my finishing on like the very opposite side of the entrance. So if the entrance is here, I would put it here. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so you can just decide what feels right for you. Is it rolling? Is it choosing a random one? Or is it like being on the end, on the opposite end of that dungeon? You decide. I get this card and I put them back in the dungeon, and it's built here. Okay, so the deck is here. I'm going to just collect everything together, my cards and jokers and all. And now what? Now that your dungeon is complete, you can play in it alone or with your friends, or incorporate this into a campaign, a one shot, anything. Since I play solo a lot, I usually play by myself on these dungeons if I'm not putting them in any of my group games. So what do you do here? You need a set of rules. This deck, as I said, they are designed specifically for Dungeons and Dragons. So they have tables all around. They have tables about monsters, about some traps. We don't have trap tables in here, but I can find one to show you an example. Hopefully I can easily find one here. Okay, I have a treasure table. So if that card was here somewhere, we can roll for treasure. Unfortunately, it's not, so we don't get treasure in this one dungeon that we built just now. Okay, here. And I have a trap table. So can be a hidden pit, a locking pit trap, a spiked pit trap, or poison darts. Okay, so depending on what part you are, you can roll your d20 or your d10 or your d12. It depends on the card. You're going to see which dice you got to roll. In this case, it is a d20 or a d10 in most of them. Let's go around as if we're playing to see how things go. Okay, so I'm getting my d20 here because we are going to need that. This is the entrance, so this is where my player character, myself, we would be. And let me get a mini or a marker so that I can put it here. Just one moment. Okay, let's say my character is this yellow cube. We are here. How would I start playing? Okay, in the first card, the entrance card, I have a table for quest ideas. So what's going on? Why is my character here? What's the purpose of this dungeon? Why do I have to do something in here? Let's roll my d20. I got a 10, so this is here. Rescue an imprisoned NPC. So there is someone that is imprisoned in this dungeon, probably here, right, on the go. The quest refers to this question mark here. And I have to rescue them. My character has to rescue them. So first of all, who is in here? Who am I trying to rescue? I can roll on the NPCs and quest items table. This green one is for NPCs, and it's a d10 table, so I can get my d10 here and roll it. I got a 5, so it's Bess. Her name is Bess. For me it's a female name. Might be male, but who knows. I can roll another for the surname, so you can roll either female or male. If it was a female, Bess. If it was a male, Bailing. I'm going for female, so it's Bess. Surname 6 is Linden. Bess Linden. And what's her class? Another D10, and I got here another 6. So Bess Linden is a druid. So there's a druid imprisoned here in this dungeon, and I have to rescue her. That's my mission, the mission of my character. And I'm going to say that Bess is this green block here. So I'm going to position that here. You don't need markers, I just like to use them. Okay, good. So I have our NPC here. Now, what do we do now? I have my quest and I have my character here. You have to decide things like what are the stats of your character, what are they doing, how are them? So I'm going to say I'm playing with a wizard because I love wizards. I love magic users, so that's what I'm doing. But you can play with a barbarian, you can play with whatever character you want. And what I recommend, you have your character sheet. So if you're playing D&D, you have a D&D character sheet for your character here, and you have all your stats. And if you need it, you can have your player's handbook or the basic rules for D&D so that you know the mechanics of the game. If you're playing with another system, for example, let's say I have this one. This is a recent system that I've been studying, The Witchcraft by C.J. Carella. I have the book here so I can reference the rules if I need them. Have my character. I actually have some sample character here. I marked with a tab. Okay, so we can say that I have this character here that is a half cat, half human character for this system, which is good. We can incorporate that in the story, as if Bess is a druid, so she can shapeshift into animals. I can imagine that my character is also kind of a druid. This system doesn't really have druids, but kind of the same, so they probably friends or they know each other, they may be family. So I can come up with a story now that I have like my character, my purpose, my goal on this dungeon. I have the dungeon and I have my book with the system that I'm using. So I come up with the plot, the introductory part of the story, and then I can start playing. So now I can decide that my character is going to move through this dungeon. And how do you decide? Because you have 3 different possible ways you can go. You can just choose one, 1, 2, 3 and go one of them. As I said, a lot of times I like rolling my dice, so I would get a D6 and I would say that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I would decide what direction I'm going to go. So I can roll it. I got a 3, so it's this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would go up this way. And it's important to remember that your character doesn't know the layout of the dungeon. You know, but your character doesn't. So he or she is just going with the flow, is just deciding where to go. Since we roll to go here, I can position my character, and depending on the system that you are, you can make some checks. You can try to find out something about this dungeon. In D&D, for example, we have perception checks. So I can do a perception check to see if my character can notice this monster here, to decide if she is going to face it or if she's going to change her way and go somewhere else before the monster see her. If she has a particularly high passive perception, she can also just notice that there's something weird going on there and decide not to go there yet, to investigate other parts. That's a possibility. So it highly depends on the system you're playing, what rules you're going to use, and how you're going to manage that. Okay. What else can we do here? So she came here, she found the monster, and let's say now she has to fight the monster, obviously, because it's in front of her. Depending on the monster, really, you can try to have a conversation with the creature and see if you don't have to resort to fighting. If that feels more interesting to you in terms of the story, great, do that. If you just want to like fight monsters, also do that if that's what you want. In this case, the table we have here, we can either find no monster if we roll our d20 and got 2 to 8. We can find a death dog. We can find 2 giant spiders or tigers. It has like options here. Or we can find a basilisk. I absolutely hate basilisks. It's probably what I'm going to get, because that's how it goes. See? I told you. 14, a basilisk. I don't have good experiences with basilisks on my games, so I don't like them. And I just got one of them. But yeah, that's it. You would roll here, find out what monster it is, and then you would engage in a combat with that monster using the rules of the system that you're using. Again, these tables are all designed for D&D. If you're not playing D&D, if you want to play another system with these cards, you can ignore those tables or roll normally but swap the possibilities for the ones that you're using. If I get my book here, the one that I showed before, I can have ghosts, I can have wildlings in the system, I can have elementals in the system, I can have a nature spirit, which would be good for storytelling because I can have a conversation with a nature spirit instead of just fighting. So I would get those names of those different types of monsters and use here. So let's say 2 to 8 stays with no monster, then we have a spirit of nature, then we have a elemental, and then we have a ghost, so that I can use this system here. So I would roll, I got 13, it would be a ghost, so I'm fighting a ghost. In my book, I'm going to have all the information about the monster, stats, and vital information about the monster, his attacks and all, and how combat is done, so I could play using a different system than D&D very easily, okay? And then my character would probably win or not this fight. If it doesn't win, it means that it basically dies, so the game is over and the character lost it, unfortunately. But if it wins, it can move forward and keep going, and again I have another rolling here, okay? In this case here, you can see that we have a lot of numbers, 26 plus. How can I get 26 plus with my dice that is only 20? It's because originally these tables, they have like specifications of which dice you're going to use. So the previous one that we were using, it says d6 plus the PC level. So if my character is level 10, for example, I would roll a d6. 1 plus 10 is 11, so 11 would give me 2 giant spiders. So that's one way of doing that. I also just play, as I showed you, just rolling a d20. I would look here and see the numbers and see which dice I can roll. That would be reasonable to get something from here. But you can also follow the instructions that are directly on the cards. The good thing about these cards here is that these tables, they are already designed to be kind of balanced, so it considers the PC level. So if you have a character that is level 1 and you roll your d6 like I rolled and got 1, you're going to get number 2, which means you don't find any monsters, so your character is a low level character. It doesn't have a lot of power and magic yet, so it doesn't make sense for it to fight a big monster just yet. Okay, so this is it, and we would keep going. So in this case here, it's d6 plus the PC level. If my PC is like level 9, let's imagine it's level 9, my character, and I roll my d6, I got a 3. So 9 plus 3 is 12, and it would be 2 orcs per character. So I have one character, just one orc, so I would be fighting an orc. I would go to the book, find out what are the stats for the orc, and roll with my combats. And that's pretty much it. We would keep going. When we get to one of these parts in here, we have some green tables for the room's contents and for hallway contents. So we can, in this case, roll a d10. I have one here, and find out what is there. So I got a 7 on this hall, and I found dried blood. So in this case, I would incorporate in the story what could be this dried blood. So 2 ways to do that, and I usually do both ways. I first decide what is this dried blood as a dungeon master, as a game master. What would that be? It could be blood from the druid, so it's a clue that the druid may be hurt or bleeding, or maybe worse, who knows. And from the point of view of the character, I would try to investigate to find out what this blood is, because as a game master I decided what it represents, but my character doesn't know that. So he or she would try to identify any patterns, if the blood is leading them anywhere, like to one side or to the other, or if she can recognize if the blood is fresh or not, and she would make conclusions on, is that possibly from the victim that I'm trying to save. So those 2 things I would decide based on that role, and then my character would decide where to go. So let's say she comes here to this room and she starts investigating. There is a hard lock in here, so the difficulty to open that would be a high difficulty class, and I would roll for that. And there's also another table for room contents, so I could roll it. I got a 5, and it says that we have some broken chairs and a thick layer of dust. Again, I can use that on the story to decide what's going on and how it interferes in the story as game master, and then my character would investigate and see if he or she finds something relevant on that. As a game master, I can also decide that this information is not important. It's just like an old room with dust in a chair, so nothing big on that. Okay, And this hard lock, what about this hard lock? What is it hiding? Let's imagine it's like a secret compartment or like a treasure hidden. I can roll to find out what treasure or what items I find there. If I want to find treasure and I can decide that on my own, I can roll on one of my tables. Remember, we have treasure tables and we have trap tables. In this one, they are usually related to the card. So I would just go through the deck and find the first card that has a treasure table and the first card that has a trap table. And I can decide that this hard lock here has both, has a trap and has treasure in it. So I like to roll on the treasure table first because sometimes the treasure table has a little bit of a trap in it. So if I find the trap already, I don't have any reason to roll it again, right? So it's a D8. I love that this deck gives you the possibility of rolling basically every single dice if you want. I love that because I love rolling dice. So I got a 7. It is, the dungeon level. The dungeon level I usually assign as being like the level of my character plus 1 or 2, maximum 3. So that it gives a little bit of challenge to the character, but it's not that challenging that it's impossible for my character to do something in it. So I would assign something like that. In this case, let's say my character is level 9 and this dungeon is a level 10 dungeon. So I rolled a 7 on my D8 and my dungeon level is a level 10, so it's 17, and 17 is this last one. So we have 1d20 times 10 gold plus some magic boots. So we have a magic item and a lot of gold because 1d20 gold times 10 is a lot. So it's 130 gold. But since I didn't get the trap here, let's roll for a trap because nothing is that simple, right? So let's roll to see if our character finds something that prevents him to get that gold right up front. It's a D4 plus the PC level. The PC level we assigned as 9 before, right? So let's go. D4 is 1 plus 9 is 10. A poison dart, which was almost exactly what was here. So that was meant to be. So poison darts, I can say, let's imagine my character managed to open that lock. I can make these poison darts come at her and I would do a dodge. She would try to dodge, so I would do a dexterity check to see if she's successful on dodging those darts. If not, she would get some damage, and there are tables all around D&D books about damage, so I would roll on one of them or see what's the damage for poison darts and assign that to my character if she was hit by those poison darts. And so after that, if she got the damage or not, if she managed to dodge, it doesn't matter. The treasure is there, she can collect the treasure and keep moving on, like for example going to the last room where happens to be our ending, our goal, our quest finish. And in there would be a little bit of storytelling, of role playing, like does she get there and she finds the druid that she's looking for, like tied up in a chair or on the floor? Is the NPC hurt, or what is happening? And for that I would use my oracles. So let's imagine my character got there And my quest, I already know that my quest goal is here. So I'm going to say that she finds the druid because it's defined on the basis in which the dungeon was created. So she finds the druid. But is the druid, let's say, is the druid alive or is the druid hurt? I'm not going to say alive. Let's imagine she's alive because I don't want to think that my character came all the way here to find something that is not like good for story. But you can do that. That can be interesting to find the NPC you're supposed to rescue dead, specifically if you are in a larger campaign. That might be very interesting to find a dead NPC when you were supposed to rescue her and she might be important for the plot or whatever. But now let's say she's alive. Let me see if I can ask my oracle, is she hurt? So I can roll my d20. And remember that we find some dried blood in this hallway here. Since we find this dried blood here, I can say that it's likely that our NPC is hurt. So I'm going to roll with a +3 modifier, a positive modifier. So I got 14 plus 3, 17, which is a yes. The druid is hurt. And I can keep going and I can ask, for example, is there a trap? So before I go to the druid, I can ask, is there a trap here somewhere? Again, I got a 15 and 15 is a yes. So there is a trap. So I would say that I can't say that my character noticed the trap, but what I like to do in D&D specifically is roll a perception check or investigation check to see if she can notice and find the trap. So I would roll that. If she finds that out, great. She can try to not get caught in the trap or dodge whatever comes her way. If she doesn't succeed on the perception or investigation check, then she's going to fall on the trap. And I can roll on any trap table like this one. I can roll on it, find out what it is, and see what's going on from there, like role play, whatever it is that is necessary for the story. And again, role playing, storytelling, and using this information to decide where to go, what to do, how to play things. Okay, so this is one way, using my oracles to decide. Another way is, well, I know the NPCs here, but what's going on? Like, what else is going on in this room? Is there something else? Do I find something else out? What's going on? We don't know anything. So I can go to my details table. I have this one and I have another one here. Let me get it. Okay, here. I also have this one. So I can roll on them and come up with something for this story. So let's do this one that have words, and then we do one example with the other one. This one is a D100, so I can get my D100 dice, and I can roll. I have to roll twice, one for A and one for B. Oops, one is behind my dinosaur, my dragon. Okay, I have a 70. It's a 74. For A, 74 is consider. Okay, consider. And I have a 6 for B. And secret, consider secret. So going back to the perception check, I can interpret that this consider secret might mean there is something hidden in here, might be a trap, might be the boss of this dungeon. So again, I would make my character roll a perception check and we would go from there. Like basically having the same logic, the same line of thought that I gave in the example before. But this time we, instead of asking yes or no, we asked the oracle for like clarifying words. It gives two clarifying words that in this case coincidentally they could be interpreted as the same outcome, like there is a hidden trap or something like that. So this is one way. The other way is using this oracle here, this details table that is with icons. So this one is with 2d12s. I have one here. I'm not going to get to another one. I'm going to roll 2 times. So 1d12 on the horizontal, 1d12 on the vertical. So for horizontal, we have 3. So this is the column. For vertical, we have 9. So 3 and 9. We have a mushroom. Okay, good. Let's get another one. 6 and 1. And I have like this sign image, like plaque or something. So mushrooms, a sign, and now we have 2 and 6, which is a scroll. So okay, we have mushroom, a sign, and a scroll. So I can say, for example, I can interpret this sign here as like a signal, an indication, like a arrow pointing somewhere. It may be like an altar that is on the room that we are investigating, like a sign, something pointing to a specific sign where something is supposed to happen or something is supposed to go or something might be happening. And that sign might be pointing to this scroll that is like covered in like mushrooms and other growth of nature. Like it's an old dungeon and mushrooms started to growing, some mold and something like that. And these mushrooms might be exactly the trap, like a biological trap, and I have to deal with that, you know? So yeah, I would interpret that. And again, we went back to the trap. I can do, if it's D&D, I can make a perception check and see if my character finds something out. And I can do that. Yeah, that's what I would do. This one I use by by rolling 3 icons. So I roll 3 times the 2d12, find 3 icons, and I combine them into like a sentence, prompt, or something that might help me. So these are different ways that I would approach this problem here. And yeah, I think that's it. So once I'm finished, I like taking notes. So what I would do is I would make a loose representation of this dungeon to put on my notes. Like just, I would put some squares for the rooms and lines for the halls. So just I know the layout I was working with. But I would also take a few notes on what I did, what happened, what are the choices of my character, and keep playing. Another way to use this deck is like building mega dungeons. So this, for example, would be the floor for one of the floors for the dungeon. And once I get here, you can see that I have like a little chest of drawer here. I could roll for treasure, but this question mark here, instead of being the NPC that I'm trying to rescue according to my let's say my quest idea, it can be a portal or a stairs to the next level of the dungeon. So I can go either down or up. It suggests to go down, but we can say that we go up to. And then I would build another dungeon. So I would come here and restart things with another ace, another king, and another cards. When I do that, when I build multiple floors, I don't let's say I don't reuse these cards that I already used. I try not to, because I think that I already passed through them. Yes, I can roll different things on these tables, but I prefer going for something fresh. So that's what I do. And yeah, that's basically it. Once I finish, I just get the king and the ace back in their like groups, since they are supposed to be like separated from the rest, and then I combine all the cards back into the deck for a next time that I need to play it or that I want to play it. So there you have it. That's basically how I use the deck of many dungeons. You can play it with other systems. Okay, this is designed for D&D, but you can absolutely play it with any systems that you want. Any one system that you want, you can play it. Just adapt the tables, just have your character sheet, your every single thing you need, you can assign previously before playing, so that you can have everything set up. Oh, here it is, the last card. So if you like this type of tools, I'm going to try to make more lives showing the ones that I have, the ones that I like to use to play, show some examples of how to play them. This, what we did here today, was not exactly a game session. I changed this. This is here. It was not exactly a game session. It was more like me explaining how a game session would go if I use this deck to play a TTRPG session. But I have a lot of other decks and tools that we can use, and I intend on making more live. So make sure you are following so that you can be notified whenever I do more videos like those. And if you have any questions, you can leave a comment, and I'm going to make sure I try to answer all of them. These lives that I make here, I always download them and put them into my YouTube channel, which the link is on my profile. I've been able to do that the past times that I recorded live. If it's not there, it's because I either couldn't download things or something went wrong, but I always put it there, so you can go there, you can go to my channel to see every live that has ever been done in here in my channels. Okay, so follow me so you can have more tips about the how to play solo TTRPGs, solo games in general.